The diplomatic air in Washington District of Columbia is usually thick with political tension, but as the countdown to the 27th of April, 2026 begins, the atmosphere has been charged with a different, more visceral kind of electricity. This is no longer just a state visit. It has become a masterclass in clinical, cold-blooded institutional management. The headline that has sent shockwaves through both the British tabloids and American high society is as clear as it is brutal. Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet have been effectively cancelled from the King's tour of the United States. While the Sussex camp had subtly prepared the battlefield for a sentimental Windsor reunion on American soil, the Prince of Wales, acting as the ultimate guardian of the Crown's sovereignty, has systematically dismantled their strategy before the King's plane has even touched the tarmac. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's high-stakes American gamble has just hit a brick wall of royal protocol. While the Montecito camp banked on using their children as leverage to press the King into a public peace summit, Prince William has turned the tables with a brutal institutional veto. There is no ancillary schedule, no private tea, and absolutely no diplomatic status for the Sussexes. William's message is a cold, clinical execution of royal order. Harry and Meghan are no longer working royals, and their presence is now officially classified as a security risk rather than a family reunion. The Windsor bloodline has been severed from the Windsor business. For weeks, the narrative emanating from Montecito was one of calculated vulnerability. As Prince Harry and Meghan Markle embarked on their controversial tour of Australia earlier in April, a trip widely criticized as a pseudo-royal ATM visit, they made a strategic decision to leave their children, Archie and Lilibet, behind in California. On the surface, it seemed a practical choice for a high-intensity tour. However, royal insiders and seasoned analysts quickly saw the move for what it truly was, a high-stakes media gamble. By keeping the children in the United States, while the King and Queen Camilla prepared to arrive in Washington, the Sussexes were attempting to build a fire hydrant of positive press. They hoped to force a moment of public reconciliation, a Grandpa Charles photo op that would instantly validate their fading royal status and provide the luxury brand insurance their dwindling commercial contracts so desperately require. The strategy was simple but desperate. If the King were to meet his grandchildren in the United States, it would signal a thaw in relations. It would suggest that the half-in, half-out model, the very thing the late Queen Elizabeth II strictly forbade, was being revived through the back door of familial guilt. This would have been the ultimate pressure escape for Harry and Meghan, a way to pivot away from the disastrous headlines about their security costs in Australia and the failure of their recent media projects. They needed the Windsor glow to remain relevant in the circles of the global elite. They banked on the King's legendary soft heart for his grandchildren. They did not, however, account for Prince William. In a move of unprecedented toughness, the Prince of Wales has stepped forward not just as an heir, but as the firm's chief operating officer. He has moved to expose and neutralize the Sussexes' plan with surgical precision. Acting as the de facto spokesperson for the institutional response, William has issued a definitive denial that has left no room for ambiguity. There will be no off-schedule meetings. There will be no private tea at the White House with the Sussex children. There will be no sentimental detours. William's intervention was not merely about scheduling. It was an act of constitutional hygiene. He has formally denied the existence of any ancillary schedule, a direct rebuttal to the various reports suggesting the children remained in California, specifically for a royal summit. By doing so, he has effectively cancelled Archie and Lilibet from the official consciousness of the tour. The Prince of Wales has made it clear: if you are not on the official manifest approved by the United Kingdom government and the United States State Department, you do not exist in the eyes of this visit. This is a direct, public rejection of Harry and Meghan's opening gambit. The royal family, led by William's uncompromising stance, has identified the Sussexes not as family members to be welcomed, but as a risk to be managed. The language being used behind the scenes is no longer about healing rifts, it is about security protocols and institutional integrity. By ensuring that no unplanned activities occur, William has doused Harry's fire hydrant of reconciliation with the cold water of statecraft. The truth is stark. The King's visit to the United States is a mission of the highest national importance, a move to solidify the United Kingdom and United States special relationship under a new administration in this year of 2026. Every minute of the schedule, from Washington to New York, is a choreographed exercise in power. William has successfully argued that allowing the Sussexes to insert themselves into this narrative would be a security variable that could destabilize the entire mission. The legal disputes Harry has spearheaded regarding his security in the United Kingdom, specifically the Ravec rulings, are now being used against him. The royal family has pointedly noted that those who create legal and security complexities cannot be allowed to interfere with a high-stakes state visit protected by both the British security apparatus and the United States Secret Service. The cancellation of the children from the tour is the final nail in the coffin of the half-in, half-out fantasy. William has turned the Sussexes' own strategy against them. While Harry and Meghan sought to use their children as a bridge back to royalty, William has used the sanctity of the state visit to build a wall that even the blood of Windsor cannot scale. As the world watches the King and Queen land in America on the 27th, the message is clear. The crown has moved on, and it has done so with an iron fist. The era of correction has begun, and the first correction is the total removal of the Sussexes from the royal ledger of duty. The strategic maneuvers taking place behind the heavy curtains of Buckingham Palace and the Prince of Wales's office represent a fundamental shift in the monarchy's survival instinct. This is the cold, clinical execution of the William Doctrine, and as we move into the heart of this visit, the world is about to witness the true cost of betraying the firm. The question remains, how will Montecito react when they realize the bridge has not just been burned, but entirely erased from the map? We are only at the beginning of this 96-hour diplomatic siege. To understand the brutal efficiency of Prince William's intervention in Washington, one must first look back at the wreckage of the weeks leading up to this moment. The story of the cancelled royal reunion does not begin in the District of Columbia. It begins in the sun-drenched cities of Australia earlier in April 2026. It was there that the Duke and Duchess of Sussex attempted their most ambitious post-royal maneuver to date, a tour that was intended to be a triumphant return to the global stage, but instead became the catalyst for their total institutional excommunication. This Australian venture, widely mocked by the international press as a pseudo-royal ATM visit, was the final straw for the Prince of Wales. The Sussexes' strategy in Australia was transparent. They sought to replicate the pageantry of a working royal tour without the oversight, the obligation, or the permission of the crown. They moved through Sydney and Melbourne with a private film crew in tow, attempting to manufacture the kind of royal magic that could be sold to the highest bidder. However, the optics were disastrous. Reports of exorbitant security costs, demands for five-star luxury, and the thinly veiled commercial nature of their engagements led to a wave of criticism that left their brand reeling. It was against this backdrop of failing popularity and mounting financial pressure that Harry and Meghan launched their most desperate gamble. They made the high-stakes decision to leave Archie and Lilibet in California while they toured the Commonwealth. On the surface, the explanation provided to the media was one of parental pragmatism. The tour was too intense for two young children. But behind the scenes, royal analysts and the Prince of Wales's team at Kensington Palace recognized a much more cynical motive. The children were not being kept at home for their comfort. They were being held in reserve as tactical ammunition for the king's arrival in America. By positioning Archie and Lilibet in California, a mere short flight away from the king's path through Washington and New York, the Sussexes were setting a media trap. They calculated that the sight of the king, now 77 years old and navigating a demanding state visit, would create a tidal wave of public sympathy. They banked on the Grandpa Charles narrative, the idea that a grandfather could not possibly travel all the way to the United States and refuse to see his only American-born grandchildren. This was intended to be their fire hydrant of positive press, a way to wash away the stench of the Australian failure and replace it with a heartwarming story of family reconciliation. They needed that one specific photo op, that one leak to a friendly journalist about a private tea to validate their royal status. In the high society circles of Montecito, the titles of prince and princess mean very little if they are not backed by the visible blessing of the monarch. Without that proximity to the crown, their luxury brand endorsements and media contracts, which have been stagnant since 2024, were at risk of total collapse. They underestimated one person, the future king. Prince William, watching the Australian debacle from London, saw exactly what was happening. He recognized that the Sussexes were attempting to use the king's soft heart to revive the half-in, half-out model that the late queen had spent her final years dismantling. To William, this was not a family matter. It was a corporate raid on the integrity of the British monarchy. Acting as the de facto chief operating officer of the firm, William moved with a level of toughness that has redefined his public image. He did not wait for the Sussexes to make their move. He preemptively seized control of the diplomatic narrative. William's doctrine was simple. The king's visit to the United States in 2026 is a matter of state, not a family vacation. He argued that every second of the king's time is a national asset funded by the British taxpayer and dedicated to the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States. To allow the Sussexes to hijack this mission for their own commercial gain would be a dereliction of duty. William's response was a masterclass in institutional stonewalling. He utilized his influence with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office to ensure that the official schedule was airtight. He made it clear that any individual, not appearing on the official manifest, approved months in advance, was a non-entity for the duration of the trip. This was the moment the Sussexes' gamble hit a wall of cold, hard reality. By ensuring that Archie and Lilibet were officially excluded from the consciousness of the tour, William was doing more than just managing a calendar. He was issuing a decree on the future of the Windsor bloodline. He was making it clear that being a member of the family does not grant one a seat at the table of the institution. The Prince of Wales's intervention has been twofold. He has neutralized the sentimental leverage of the grandchildren and exposed the hollow nature of the Sussexes' pseudo-royal status. As the king's motorcade prepares to move through the streets of Washington, the silence from the royal camp regarding the children is deafening. There is no plan for a secret meeting. There is no invitation to the White House. There is only the rigid, unyielding execution of a state visit that has no room for the drama of California. William has successfully framed the Sussexes' attempt at reconciliation as a security risk and a diplomatic distraction. The message to Harry and Meghan is brutal and final. You may have the blood of Windsor, but you no longer have the business of Windsor. The wall is not just built. It is being defended by a future king who has no intention of looking back at the wreckage of the past. The tactical error in Australia has led to a strategic defeat in America, and for the House of Montecito, the cost of this failed gamble is nothing less than total irrelevance. The transformation of the Prince of Wales from a grieving brother and frustrated sibling into the iron-willed enforcer of the House of Windsor is perhaps the most significant political development within the British monarchy in the Privilege. Year 2026. As the king's motorcade winds through the high-security corridors of Washington, the invisible hand guiding every diplomatic move and every official silence belongs to Prince William. He has moved beyond the emotional turbulence of the past and has fully embraced his role as the firm's chief operating officer. This is no longer a family dynamic defined by shared memories. It is an institutional defense defined by the William Doctrine. The William Doctrine is simple, devastating, and absolute. There is no middle ground between service and celebrity. For years, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have attempted to navigate a gray area, trying to retain the prestige of their royal titles while pursuing private commercial interests in California. They have sought a half-in, half-out existence that would allow them to perform as royals when the cameras are global and act as influencers when the checks are large. While the late Queen Elizabeth II initially drew the line at the Sandringham Summit, it is William who has turned that line into an unscalable wall during this pivotal American tour. Acting as the de facto guardian of the king's legacy, William has recognized that the survival of the monarchy depends on its perceived integrity. If the king were to allow his visit to be used as a backdrop for a Sussex brand relaunch, the institution would be seen as a mere celebrity entity, vulnerable to exploitation. To prevent this, William has utilized the full machinery of the British state to neutralize his brother's influence. He has moved with a level of tactical sophistication that has caught the Montecito camp completely off guard. The primary tool in William's arsenal has been the rigid structure of the United Kingdom's Foreign and Commonwealth Office. By framing the king's visit as a high-level diplomatic mission, 100% focused on the special relationship between the United Kingdom and the United States, William has removed the element of personal choice from the equation. He has pointedly reminded all media outlets and diplomatic channels that every minute of the king's schedule is vetted by civil servants and security agencies. This ensures that the Sussexes are not being rejected by a mean brother, but are being excluded by the same protocols that govern any other private citizens. William's intervention has been particularly focused on the White House state dinner and the various high society gatherings in New York. Behind the scenes, the Prince of Wales has been adamant that the guest lists remain a matter of official government policy. By emphasizing that every name must be vetted for constitutional standing and security clearance, he has effectively erased Harry and Meghan from the official record of the trip. They are no longer treated as family members who happen to live abroad. They are treated as individuals who have no standing in the constitutional framework of the United Kingdom. This move is a direct dousing of the fire hydrant of Sussex propaganda, which had been whispering to journalists that a secret invitation was in the works. One of the most complex aspects of William's strategy involves the management of the king himself. It is no secret in royal circles that King Charles III possesses what many call a legendary soft heart for his grandchildren. The Sussexes banked on this vulnerability, hoping that the king's desire to see Archie and Lilibet would override the advice of his counselors. William, however, has acted as a shield for his father. He has successfully argued that the king's role as the living embodiment of the state must take precedence over his role as a grandfather for the duration of this 96-hour mission. By framing the exclusion as a matter of constitutional hygiene, William has made it impossible for the king to deviate from the hardening schedule without appearing to undermine the very government he represents. The Prince of Wales has gone as far as to issue a definitive denial regarding any ancillary schedules or private teas. This was a surgical strike against the narrative being built by the Sussex camp. They had hoped to create a perception of a royal family in transition, one that might still be open to backdoor negotiations. William has used his position as the primary spokesperson for the institution to clarify that there is no Plan B. There is no secret meeting at a hotel in Manhattan. There is only the official mission of the King of the United Kingdom. The psychological warfare between the two brothers has reached a fever pitch in this year of 2026. William's strategy is to deny Harry the one thing he needs to survive in the American market: royal proximity. Without the association with the king and the formal structure of the monarchy, the Sussex brand is just another celebrity entity in a crowded and increasingly cynical market. By blocking Archie and Lilibet from the tour, William is cutting off the oxygen to the Sussex media machine. He is making it clear that the blood of Windsor does not grant a right to participate in the business of the crown if one has abandoned the duties of the crown. Furthermore, William has masterfully aligned the palace's response with the current political climate in Washington. With a new administration in power, the focus is on stability, tradition, and the strengthening of old alliances. The drama and tell-all culture associated with the Sussexes are increasingly seen as a liability in the serious circles of global diplomacy. William has leveraged this sentiment, ensuring that the king is surrounded by the elite of the American political and security establishment, far removed from the influencer culture of California. The image of William today is one of total unity and uncompromising strength. He has successfully pivoted the narrative away from a family feud and toward a matter of national security and institutional integrity. He is sending a message to Harry, Meghan, and the global media. The era of negotiation is over. There is no middle ground. There is no half-royal status. By confirming that the children will not participate and that no meetings will take place, William is effectively extinguishing the last embers of the Sussexes' royal ambitions. He is protecting the king's diplomatic message from being hijacked by the commercial interests of Montecito. In the eyes of the Prince of Wales, the protection of the monarchy requires the total exclusion of those who would use it as a commercial ATM. The wall is built, the gate is locked, and William holds the only key. The world is witnessing the birth of a new kind of kingship, one that is prepared to be as cold as it is necessary to ensure the crown's survival for another 1,000 years. As the king's motorcade prepares to sweep through the streets of Washington, the sheer scale of the administrative wall erected by Prince William becomes undeniably clear. The fourth stage of this institutional defense is centered on the absolute weaponization of protocol and security. For years, Prince Harry has attempted to navigate the gray areas of his royal heritage, trying to retain the perks of his birthright while shunning the obligations of the crown. In April 2026, that gray area was decisively erased. By ensuring that Archie and Lilibet are not just absent, but officially confirmed as excluded from the American tour, William has effectively liquidated the last remaining assets of the Sussexes' royal identity. The Prince of Wales has turned the king's visit into a fortress of constitutional purity where the only currency is official service to the state. The gamble taken by Harry and Meghan to leave their children at Montecito was a move of calculated desperation. They were betting on a media-driven surge of sympathy, hoping that the American public would demand a royal reunion on United States soil. They envisioned the children as a diplomatic fire hydrant capable of washing away the stains of their recent failures and the accusations of financial opportunism that followed them from Australia. They needed a moment of high society validation to satisfy their corporate masters and secure the luxury brand endorsements that keep their lifestyle afloat. They wanted to prove that, despite their exit, they were still the gateway to the heart of the British monarchy. However, William has utilized the machinery of the state to expose this move as a hollow provocation. He has acted with a coldness that mirrors the high stakes of the mission. By taking control of the narrative, William has emphasized that the king is not in America as a private citizen, but as the living embodiment of the British state. Every handshake with the president and every wreath laid at the memorials in New York is a formal act of government policy. By reinforcing this, William has made the exclusion of the Sussexes look like a natural and inevitable consequence of their own choices. He has used the official guest lists of the White House and the strict arrival protocols to show that Harry and Meghan are no more relevant to this visit than any other private resident of California. The most potent tool in William's arsenal has been the issue of security. He has masterfully turned Harry's own legal battles over royal and VIP executive committee protection into a justification for total isolation. The Prince of Wales has overseen a coordination effort between British security agencies and the United States Secret Service that classifies the Sussexes as a variable of disruption. By framing any potential interaction with Harry and his family as a security breach, William has moved the conversation from a family feud to a matter of protecting the head of state from unnecessary risk. He has pointedly noted that the complex legal landscape created by Harry's lawsuits makes any informal or unplanned meeting an impossibility. This move not only cancels the children from the tour, but also douses any hope Harry had of using the visit to argue for his own security needs. The royal family has effectively argued that the Secret Service and British protection officers cannot be expected to manage the additional baggage of a family that is currently litigating against the very departments providing their protection. This has allowed the palace to explain the cancellation of any potential meeting as a purely administrative and safety-driven decision. It is a brilliant piece of maneuvering that leaves Harry with no grounds for complaint. In the eyes of the law and the state, the Sussexes have become a logistical nightmare that the King's tour cannot afford to accommodate. William's strategy of total exclusion is also a direct answer to the Sussexes' attempt to escape the pressure of their own choices. They hope that by bringing the king into their sphere of influence in America, they could reset their public image and appear as the modern face of the Windsor bloodline. William has denied them this oxygen. By ensuring that no outside schedule exists and that no private tea or meetings are entertained, he has left Harry and Meghan stranded in a media vacuum. They are forced to watch from the sidelines as the king performs the very duties they claimed were too burdensome, yet now desperately try to emulate in their pseudo-royal tours. The image of the Prince of Wales that emerges from this conflict is one of a leader who is fully prepared for the burdens of the throne. He is not interested in the optics of a fake peace. He is interested in the integrity of the institution. By blocking every attempt at a backdoor reconciliation, William is protecting the king's diplomatic message from being hijacked by the commercial interests of Montecito. He has sent a definitive message to the world. The British monarchy is not a celebrity brand to be shared or traded. It is a sovereign entity that belongs to the state. As the king's tour continues without a single glance toward California, the failure of the Sussexes' American gamble becomes a permanent record of their displacement. The door is not just closed, it has been fortified. Every official photograph of the King and Queen Camilla in Washington serves as a silent reminder of who is inside the circle of trust and who has been left out in the cold. The Prince of Wales has ensured that for these 96 hours, the only Windsors that matter are the ones who serve the crown. The tactical quarantine is complete, and as the royal delegation moves toward New York, the Sussexes are left to realize that their children, far from being a bridge to the future, have become the final symbol of a bridge that has been permanently burned. The era of the half-in, half-out royal is over, and the era of William the Enforcer has truly begun. As the king's high-profile engagements in Washington and New York dominate the global news cycle, the fifth stage of this unfolding drama reveals the absolute failure of the Sussexes' American gamble. The strategic decision by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle to keep Archie and Lilibet in California during the king's visit was intended to be a masterstroke of media manipulation. It was supposed to be the ultimate leverage, a way to force the royal family into a public display of unity that would instantly rehabilitate the Sussex brand. Instead, under the unyielding direction of Prince William, it has become a symbol of their total displacement. The Prince of Wales has not only held the line, he has moved the line so far that Harry and Meghan now find themselves completely outside the royal orbit with no path back. The motivation behind the Sussexes' desperate move was the need to rescue a reputation in freefall. After the backlash in Australia, where they were seen as opportunistic and out of touch, they needed a spectacular win. They hoped that, by dangling the prospect of a royal meeting with the grandchildren on American soil, they could create a media frenzy that would force the palace to negotiate. This was meant to be their fire hydrant, a powerful tool to wash away the stains of their commercial failures and the growing perception that they are no longer relevant to the monarchy they once criticized. They needed the prestige of the Windsor bloodline to secure the luxury contracts that are the lifeblood of their California lifestyle. They calculated that a refusal to see the grandchildren on American soil would make the king look heartless, while an agreement to meet would grant them the royal validation they so crave. However, William has utilized the power of the British state to expose this plan as a desperate act of brand survival. He has transformed the king's visit into a demonstration of institutional strength where personal feelings are entirely secondary to the mission of the crown. By acting as the primary gatekeeper for this tour, William has emphasized that the king is in America as the representative of the British government and the people, not as a private grandfather on vacation. This distinction is the weapon that has destroyed the Sussexes' hope for a quick-fix reconciliation. William has made it clear that the king's time is a national asset, and it cannot be diverted to provide a publicity boost for a commercial brand based in California. By ensuring that Archie and Lilibet were confirmed as non-participants from the very beginning, William has preemptively defeated any lingering hope that the royal family would succumb to sentimental pressure. He has framed the situation with brutal clarity. Harry and Meghan made their choice to be private citizens, and as such, they have no place in the statecraft of a reigning monarch. William's role as the institutional gatekeeper has been decisive. He has worked closely with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and the security services to ensure that the king's schedule is an airtight container, leaving no room for the unplanned variables of Montecito. By emphasizing that the visit is a mission for the United Kingdom government, William has made the exclusion of his brother seem like a matter of law and order rather than a family dispute. He has effectively used the machinery of the state to cancel the Sussexes' influence. There is no private tea, no clandestine meeting in a New York hotel, and no photo opportunity with the grandchildren. There is only the silent, powerful movement of the head of state. Furthermore, the royal family has used the security protocols as a definitive barrier. By pointing to the ongoing legal conflicts surrounding Harry's protection, specifically his lawsuits against the Home Office, William has framed the Sussex family as a logistical nightmare that the king's tour cannot afford to accommodate. The coordination between the Royal and VIP Executive Committee and the United States Secret Service is focused on the highest levels of global diplomacy. William has successfully argued that any interaction with the high-risk environment surrounding the Sussexes would jeopardize the safety and the dignity of the king. This has allowed the palace to portray the lack of contact as a responsible decision made by security experts, further isolating Harry from any legitimate grounds for complaint. This is a brilliant piece of maneuvering that leaves the Duke of Sussex with no cards left to play. The contrast between the two camps is now a chasm that cannot be crossed. On one side, the Prince of Wales is seen as the architect of a new, disciplined monarchy, one that puts duty and national interest above all else. He is the future king who understands that the crown's survival depends on its distance from the world of celebrity gossip and commercial exploitation. On the other side, Harry and Meghan are left in Montecito, their gamble having failed to produce the desired media explosion. By ensuring the children were kept out of the narrative, William has denied the Sussexes the chance to use them as a shield against criticism. They are no longer treated as family who happen to have moved away. They are treated as private citizens who have no standing in the constitutional framework of the United Kingdom. The message from the palace is clear. The monarchy is not a tool for personal profit or brand management. It is a sacred trust, and those who treat it as a commercial ATM will find themselves permanently excluded. The era of correction has arrived, and it is being led by a future king who has no intention of looking back. The Sussexes' attempt to escape the consequences of their own choices has ended in a total and public stalemate. As the king moves through his final engagements in New York, the absence of his younger son is not a mystery to be solved, it is a policy to be observed. William has built a wall that even the blood of Windsor cannot scale, and in doing so, he has protected the sanctity of the throne for the next generation. The strategic quarantine is complete, and as the world watches the king perform his duties with a sense of purpose and power, the drama of Montecito feels like a distant, irrelevant echo of a past that no longer exists. The crown has moved on, and it has done so with a cold, clinical precision that leaves no room for the pseudo-royal status of the California exiles. The final correction is not just about a schedule. It is about the very definition of royal duty in the 21st century. The closing act of the king's historic visit to the United States has solidified a new world order for the British monarchy, one characterized by the unyielding resolve of Prince William. As the royal delegation prepares to depart from American soil, the silence regarding the Duke and Duchess of Sussex has transformed from a tactical choice into a permanent institutional policy. The sixth and final stage of this confrontation has seen the total collapse of the Sussexes' media gamble. By keeping Archie and Lilibet at home in Montecito, Harry and Meghan hoped to create a void that only a royal reunion could fill. Instead, William used that void to demonstrate that the monarchy is entire, self-sufficient, and utterly finished with the distractions of California. The wall that was built during this tour is not a temporary barrier. It is the new permanent architecture of the crown. The strategy pursued by the Sussexes throughout April 2026 was a desperate attempt to regain the aristocratic oxygen they have lost since their departure. Facing a crisis of relevance after their widely mocked appearances in Australia, they sought to use the American tour as a fire hydrant to douse the flames of their burning reputation. They believed that the sight of the king meeting his grandchildren in Washington or New York would provide the ultimate validation for their commercial ventures and luxury brand partnerships. It was a calculated use of the Windsor bloodline to secure a future of high society influence. They gambled that the king's arrival on their home turf would force a moment of weakness from the palace. However, Prince William has proven to be an opponent of extraordinary coldness and strategic depth. He has exposed the Sussexes' intentions by maintaining a regime of total exclusion that has left Harry and Meghan appearing more isolated than ever before. By acting as the primary voice of the institution, William has emphasized that the king's presence in America was a matter of statecraft, not family business. He has ensured that the distinction between a working royal and a private citizen is now a canyon that cannot be bridged. By confirming that no meetings took place and that the children were never part of the official or unofficial agenda, William has destroyed the last hope of the Sussexes to act as half-in, half-out members of the firm. The use of security as a definitive lockdown mechanism has been William's most effective maneuver. By framing the exclusion of the Sussexes as a necessity driven by the Royal and VIP Executive Committee and the United States Secret Service, he has removed the element of personal choice from the narrative. The royal family has successfully argued that the security complexities surrounding Harry and Meghan make them a risk factor that the king's tour could not accommodate. This has allowed the palace to maintain a posture of professional distance, while Harry is left to grapple with the consequences of his own legal battles. The message is undeniable. Those who litigate against the crown's security apparatus cannot expect to be welcomed into its most sensitive diplomatic circles. The image of the Prince of Wales at the conclusion of this tour is that of a man who has successfully protected the sanctity of the throne. He has shown the world that the British monarchy does not need the drama of celebrity to remain relevant. He has protected the king's diplomatic achievements from being hijacked by the commercial aspirations of Montecito. While Harry and Meghan remain in California, their influence diminished and their gamble failed. William has emerged as the clear victor in this struggle for institutional integrity. He has ensured that the monarchy remains focused on service, duty, and national interest, far removed from the grievances and brand building of the Sussexes. As the king returns to London, the reality for the House of Windsor has changed. The Sussexes are no longer a part of the royal story. They are a footnote that has been corrected. William has established a precedent that will define his own future reign. There is no middle ground. The era of negotiation is over. The decision to exclude Archie and Lilibet from the tour was the final confirmation that the royal family considers the Sussexes a risk to be managed rather than a family to be reunited with. The crown has moved forward with a sense of purpose and power that leaves no room for the pseudo-royal status of Montecito. The tactical isolation of Harry and Meghan during these 4 days in America represents a total victory for the William doctrine. Every handshake between the king and the president, every standing ovation at the state dinners, and every formal wreath-laying in New York was a testament to the enduring strength of the institution when it is purged of distraction. The Sussexes' attempt to leverage their children for a brand reset has resulted in a public demonstration of their total irrelevance to the modern state. They are left with the luxury lifestyle they chose, but without the royal validation they so desperately need to sustain it. The message sent to the global elite and the media is final. The gateway to the heart of the monarchy is locked, and the keys have been handed to a future king who prioritizes the crown over the clan. As the aircraft carries the king back across the Atlantic, the world is left with a single indelible image, a monarchy that is unified, disciplined, and utterly finished with the drama of the past. The wall is complete, the message is sent, and the future of the monarchy is secure in its isolation from those who sought to exploit it. The king's visit to America will be remembered not for a family meeting that never happened, but for the day the Prince of Wales finally closed the book on the Sussex era. The correction is absolute, and the crown has never looked more powerful.